amazing episode
of Bracketology
at RRE ESPN. Ooh. Recaps of some games that we had over last week.
Let's do the last one.
We had Dayton versus Syracuse, which was a tough match. Dayton won, though. We had Baylor versus Creighton, and Baylor won, which was actually a good win. We had Tennessee versus Mercer, which was a very tough match. We had Michigan versus Texas, and Michigan won. We also, in the last one, it's Iowa State beating North Carolina. Good win.
Now, remember that first video you saw with me in it? Yeah, I know, I'm awesome. Well, am I a fortune teller or what? I told you Ohio State was gonna lose it all! And I was right, wasn't I? Yeah.
Yes, you were right.
Looks like Miss Crew is still in with Arizona and also with Miss O'Connor. And Miss Egan is still in with San Diego State. And Miss Hilgeford is still in with Baylor. And since nobody chose Wisconsin, we're going to give that to Children's Inc. And Miss Reister and Miss Reese have Kentucky. And Miss Murray and Miss Gilbert have Louisville. Miss Quast has Tennessee. And Bertelson has Michigan. Here you go, Reed. Now to the south. Now to the south. Mrs. Quast and Kelly are still in with Florida. That's the number 1 seed. Also, Mrs. Grimes and Mrs. Meacham are still in with UCLA. And Mrs. Winter has number 11 Dayton, the Cinderella team. And then Miss Herman has Stanford. Now to Grayson. In the East, Miss Mando has ranked number 1, Virginia. Miss Shoemaker or Miss Kyle has Michigan State. Iowa State has Miss Biting, and Miss Jackson does too. And Miss Francis has Connecticut. The head-to-head matchup between Reese and Mrs. Reister's class with Kentucky, and Mrs. Murray and Miss Gilbert with Louisville.
Go Kentucky!
It's gonna be played. It's gonna be played in Indianapolis Friday night. Friday night. And scene.
My 4 picks that are currently still in are Florida in the South bracket, East bracket, Michigan State, West bracket is Arizona, and I'm debating for the Midwest either Michigan or Kentucky, because they're like my 2 favorite teams in all 4 of the brackets. So
In the South, I think that Florida will win, even though they had a very rough start in the beginning of their season. And then for the East bracket, I feel like Michigan State could have a chance. And then in the West bracket, I think Arizona. And then in the Midwest, it's obviously going to be Kentucky.
or
My final 4 teams are Kentucky, not Louisville. Thanks.
Kentucky!
Arizona, Michigan State, and Florida.
I have sort of the same thing as his. Arizona, Michigan State, Florida, and Kentucky. Kentucky!
4 teams are in the South bracket, I think Florida. In the East bracket, I think Michigan State. The West bracket, Arizona. And the Midwest, either Kentucky or Louisville. My top 4 picks are basically all the same because they're all still in. So I'm such a good analyst, I know that. And with Kentucky, Virginia, Arizona, and Florida, I believe the championship matchup will be Florida and Kentucky will come out on top.
I'm sorry for
Gilbert and Miss Murray, but you're out. And
You're gonna lose
Mrs.
it
C.
all.
I'm sorry, Mrs. C. Louisville